Hey, 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 what's up, everyone? Coach Sarah Joy here. So it is Wednesday, and it's hump day. And I wanted to jump on because I have a special guest appearing on my page with me today. Her name is Diana, and she is a badass beast. Oh my gosh, her workouts look so amazing. Here she is. I'm always watching her workouts going, holy crap, you are amazing. So she's jumping on with us now. Here she comes. There. Oh, it's connecting. And there she is. What's up?
How you doing?
Good. It's good to see you. Did you just finish working out?
I just came in from a run, actually.
You are so amazing. I was just saying that I watch your workouts and I'm like, damn.
Well, thank you.
You are so inspirational. And your post the other day of you like lifting that badass bar, I was like, goals right there. I totally love it. So, welcome everyone. This is Coach Diana, and I am Coach Sarah Joy. And today we wanted to jump on live and have a quick but deep conversation about eating disorders. So it was brought to our attention, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
that there's a lot of people suffering with eating disorders, and even people in my crew that have thyroid conditions. There is eating disorders going on, and it wasn't something on my radar. So I was immediately I came to you for your input and your help with this, because I know that you have some experience with eating disorders, and I do on a slight scale, which I'll share with you later. But I just wanted to have you share your story about like what you've gone through.
Yeah, so I think, it's interesting that it makes so much sense. I think when you and I kind of like were messaging back and forth, and we were just like, why did we never kind of connect this before, right? Like once we kind of put the pieces together, we were just like, oh yeah, obviously, but it just, it just wasn't there in the very beginning. But, for me now, I don't, technically, I guess, have a thyroid condition that is problematic. I know, genetically, like my mom does, my grandmother does, my great grandmother did. So it's something that I am always kind of on the lookout for myself. But I am trying in my own lifestyle to ensure that I'm doing things to not make that happen. But considering my past, I think it also is something that I need to be kind of a little bit more aware of, because I do have a history of eating disorders. I come from a background primarily of binge eating disorder, that looked kind of all different ways throughout the 20 plus years that I kind of, struggled with that off and on. And then it really wasn't until I kind of got into my 30s, and within these like last 5 years or so, that I really kind of was able to, and there's a lot of work, of course, that goes into healing from any kind of eating disorder that is more than just food based. So kind of going through all of that in my own personal journey, but really also learning to stop seeing my food choices and my approach to food as this very black or white perfection and then like chaos, these kind of extremes. Like that was sort of the real game changer for changing my relationship with food, so that I wasn't doing this constant harm to my body, whether it was kind of overwhelming my body with food or depriving my body of food. Because I think, as you and I have talked a little bit, what that can do over a period of time is really mess with your hormones and your stress levels, and that can wind up taking such a awful toll on your thyroid. So, I think kind of like being more aware of this in my own life, I am just kind of thinking through, how does this affect the clients who I might interact with, and, you know, kind of the people who are just coming by and checking out these messages. What are some other things that they might be dealing with, you know, as side effects to these eating patterns that they've dealt with? So I just think that that's just, you know, a really kind of different perspective on it.
Yeah, and you said so many good nuggets there. So yes, there is. When we started going back and forth about this, it was like, oh my gosh, yes, like eating disorders at they lead into nutrient deficiencies. And if you're following me and reading my posts, you know that nutrient deficiencies are absolutely a trigger and a causeway into a thyroid condition. And if you already have a thyroid condition, it can be a thing that propels you more into even further sickness, like a more you know, serious diagnosis like Hashimoto's and some of these other you know, next level, next stage thyroid illnesses. So you said that you struggled with binge eating. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that really kind of started, I guess, when I was preteen, early teenage years. Just, you know, a lot of, I guess, emotional things that kind of went into that. Feeling very trapped in my own world. You know, I grew up with two separate households. And so things were just really challenging in my family for me. And there was just not a whole lot of like me being able to express myself and have my own feelings, my own emotions and things like that, my own voice. And so I think that kind of turning to food was this like escape for me for a long time. And I'm also a recovering perfectionist, as I call myself, you know, so that plays into, of course, a lot of that idea of like, I need to have perfect eating. And if I don't have perfect eating, then I have completely blown it and I am just completely off the rails, you know? So there were kind of a lot of things that played into that over the years. But so typically, you know, there might be, it's kind of that cycle, like binge eating tends to be a cycle. So you might binge, and then because you do, you feel guilty, you feel shame, and you feel like you need to make up for it, you know, or do something to kind of counteract it. So then what do? The next day, the next week, whatever, it's, you know, you're real tight on your diet. And that typically looks like deprivation of foods that you enjoy, restriction of calories. And so then you're dealing not only with this, you know, physiologically that is deprived of calories, and so you're going to like, it's like that rubber band, you pull it back, it's going to completely swing back in the opposite direction. So physiologically you're going to need to make up for those calories that you're depriving yourself of. And even on that emotional level, when you deprive yourself of satisfaction for days, like eventually you're like, I just want to be satisfied by my food. And so that always winds up going over top because you have kind of gone in this opposite direction. So it's just a lot of that like ping ponging back and forth until you can kind of say, you know what, I'm just going to make this like moderate choice and I'm just going to aim for the middle rather than these complete opposite ends of the spectrum. And that, again, that's, like I said, that's really where things kind of changed for me. That's where the game changed, where I could start being like, okay, you know, it may not be spinach and egg whites for breakfast, but it's still a healthy breakfast. And I'm going to be okay with that. And I'm not going to berate myself for it. And I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to feel satisfied. And that kind of became the goal, as opposed to like, I'm going to eat for the minimal amount of calories possible, you know, because that was the mindset for a long time. And again, that only swung me back over to binge eating. So,
wow. Yeah, that definitely sounds, that sounds like a struggle, and it sounds like something you can get trapped in. I see how it's a trap. And then once you're constantly in that, what, so you said, you mentioned there was a shift that helped you get out of that. So where do you intersect and say like, okay, like this is super unhealthy, I got to get out of this? Like, how do you?
So I think, you know, it took a long time, because I think that depending on, you know, everyone I think who struggles with food on some level does it for coping in some way. There is a piece of that like it serves you in some way, especially if you've done it for a long time. So it took some time for me to come to a place where I was like, I am okay enough in my own life and in my own world that like I don't need to go to this place where food is this comfort for me anymore. Like I can find that in other ways. And this coping mechanism or this crutch, like I don't need it anymore. So that took some time. But it was kind of like once I was able to see or to kind of even like fathom that that could be a thing, then sorry, my cat's making noise over here.
It's okay.
Then I was able to say, because it's, you know, it's funny, like I say this also, like most people think that like binge eating stops when you take control over your food choices or your behaviors, right? But it's actually that binge eating stops when you let go of trying to take control. When you let go of that mindset of like, I have to be good, I have to get back on a diet, because even the thought of like a future restriction and deprivation will send you, especially if you have dieted in that diet cycle for years like I had, any even like thought of that will send you into a tailspin of like, let me get in all the food now before it's off limits to me. So there's just a whole lot of psychology that goes into that. And I think it was like over time of me really kind of like learning all of that and kind of seeing the logic behind it, and that what I was doing to myself was really disempowering, is what made me see that like there has to be something better. It was kind of like, you know, when you get to your wit's end and you're like, I need to find a better solution.
Wow. That is an incredible, powerful story. I actually didn't know your full recovery. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Good for you. Yeah, I personally have never struggled with that, but I did have a different sort of eating disorder. But before I forget, I just wanted to point out, because I'm very scientifically minded. And when you were telling your story, I was thinking like, wow, that is so much stress. Mm-hmm. That is so much stress physically, spiritually, emotionally, that like on all health aspects. But physically, a lot of people can relate to the physical, that what your adrenal glands must have gone through, because those are what release the adrenaline, the cortisol, that's what the fight and flight, the stress response really, it begins and ends in the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands are connected to thyroid glands. They are besties. They work together. So if your thyroid gland is already sluggish or struggling, your adrenal glands will come in as like kind of, the save the day type system, and like help a friend out, and send extra hormones to stimulate your thyroid so things work well. So I could see how when you're in that cycle, how it just exhausts. It not only exhausts you emotionally and spiritually, but it's exhausting your adrenal glands. And when you get into a state of adrenal burnout, then it's almost like all of your alarm systems are going off, like, we can't take it anymore, you know? And so that on top of the nutrient deficiencies from the restrictive diet, and then the spiritual low that you get into as well, which then you have all those negative thoughts, you're beating yourself up, and thoughts become things. So whatever we're thinking directly sends messages to the cells in our body of how to operate and how to feel. So I could see how that would definitely highly exasperate a already existing thyroid condition.
Yes,
for sure, on so many levels. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, like, also, oftentimes, and maybe I'm speaking from personal experiences, but I'm going to, like, if I were a betting woman, I would bet money on this, that when we tend to be in that restrictive mindset and we're dieting, quote unquote, we're typically not eating things like, things that are laden with sugar and, kind of all of those like quote unquote bad foods. We're like really steering clear of them, right? And so then when we hit that breaking point, all that we want are those foods that are laden with the things that are typically very inflammatory. So it's a lot of sugar. It's a lot of
Salt.
food that probably contains gluten, right? Because if I'm
Yeah.
going to go pick up like a package of cookies off the shelves, they're probably going
Yeah.
to have, you know, dairy, like ice cream, cheese. So like you kind of
Mm.
go from like this extreme of not giving yourself anything that you want to then overloading yourself on these highly inflammatory foods. And that's not helping a thyroid condition either.
Right, right. So, because what happens exactly is it's not only are they inflammatory, like you said, but they they feed the pathogens that we have in our body, which everyone has. You can Google it. 99% of people have the Epstein-Barr virus. It is one of the main causers of a thyroid condition. So when you're eating gluten, you're eating dairy, and you're in that binge state of your cycle, and like you don't give a shit, and you're just eating it all, you're giving the pathogens inside of you that are causing illness the fuel that they need, which causes them to multiply and proliferate, which makes you sicker. And pathogens do exactly what we do when we're eating. They eat and then they excrete waste that's poisonous and toxic. And then that circulates through your system, causing the symptoms. So not only do you have all of this cycle going on with your binge eating, but then you're going to start a bunch of symptoms going on from your already existing pathogens or thyroid illness. So that just sounds hard on so many levels. And so I know, because a lot of my girls tell me every day I talk to them, weight's an issue. They struggle with weight gain. They struggle with weight loss. And I could see easily how this could turn into an eating disorder, because you're unhappy in your own skin, and you want to lose weight, you want to feel sexy, you know, you just want to be comfortable. And more so, you don't want to go diabetic, you don't want to be pre-diabetic, right. You know, all those concerns too. So I could see how that would easily turn into an eating disorder very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of, that's one of the hardest things, I think, to really, to really, I think, to convey to people, but then to really have people absorb, is that if you want to lose weight, you can lose weight. Like, we know losing weight is not hard. What we know is hard is what happens after that weight loss, because that's where people will yo-yo back and forth. And the reason why is because there is no foundation of a healthy relationship with food. There is no foundation of what do I do to just maintain my weight, and to do that in a way that feels good, that is health promoting, you know, because we don't start there. We always start from this place of, my eating's out of control, I need to do something. And then we hop on a diet. So all we know is this like out of control eating, dieting, out of control eating, dieting. And so we never learn what just like a really good solid foundation looks like and feels like. And so the thing that is really difficult is that when you are in a place of, you know, you're struggling with weight, you want to lose weight, like I understand how urgent that feeling is. But at some point there, you know, the hope is that you come to a place where you say, I'm ready to do this for good and never have to do it again. And so then you build that foundation, you figure out what maintenance looks like for you first. So it's actually like, you don't jump in the diet first, you get to like a really good, healthy place first. And then you say, okay, now what tweaks am I going to make to this solid foundation in order to move the needle with my weight? And I know that that's really hard because it takes patience and it takes time. But again, it's kind of like, do you want the quick fix, or do you want the fix that you can live with for the rest of your life? You know?
Yeah. And I love that. I love that you said that, because like food is the foundation to thyroid health as well. And again, a lot of my girls tell me, I just don't know what to eat. You know, they react to everything. They react to, they're scared of eating because of the symptoms that it gives them. And I hear all the time, I don't know what to eat. So that is why the foundation of my coaching program and I'm sure yours too, is teaching how to specifically eat for thyroid health. But eating specifically for thyroid health just teaches you the foundation, like you're saying, of how to eat healthy overall, and then how to sustain and maintain. I love that you said that, a healthy eating habits that you can take with you through your life. So it's a lifestyle change. It's not just a momentary, what am I going to diet? What am I going to use the diet to lose weight? And so exactly. And the other thing that has been concerning that I get a lot of people tell me about is their doctors, they put them on stimulants. They put them on pills to lose weight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
And yeah. Lots of, I just basically call it like legal meth is being handed out. And so I wanted to speak to that really fast. Like you said, it's about finding something that you can sustain, finding a way to lose weight and eat healthy that is sustaining and not harmful. And the pills are a quick fix. They do work because they help appetites, suppress your appetite. And but it isn't something that you can do for a long time. You will yo-yo back, and as soon as you stop taking the pills, the weight comes back on.
Right.
So it is, like you said, about learning exactly how to eat properly, and that is something that I love to focus on for sure, because that is what I struggled with too. When before I was even diagnosed with hypothyroidism, I was just intuitively recognizing that I was reacting to gluten. And when I ate this, it made me feel like this,
Right.
And it was usually like all digestive based, like it hurt my stomach.
Yep.
Gave me bloating, So I was like, okay, I'm going to cut that out. But this was also, I did all these changes like back in the day because, I'm 41. So this is all like mid 2000s, and there was nothing. There was no such thing as gluten-free bread. The gluten-free bread that was there was like this hard foamy thing, Yeah. And so I talk about not having anything to eat or not knowing what to eat. I was completely lost. And then I also realized dairy was hurting me too. So I was gluten-free, dairy-free, and I literally didn't know what to do. So kind of like what you said, I was either restricting, not out of feeling like I had an eating disorder. I was restricting out of, I didn't know what the hell I could eat.
Right.
And so that was really, really hard right there. And then unfortunately, I was married to a boy who was very abusive, and he was very mean to me over my physique. And if I even put a little bit of weight on, he would make comments. Wow. And it was always, little digs. And it made me feel like crap. And even after I had my kids, he gave me, a hard time for my baby weight. And it was really hard because, you can't start losing weight when you're nursing. You still have to.
Nor should you even be thinking about that.
Yeah, it shouldn't even be on your radar.
Right.
And so for me, I was in a very abusive relationship, and I succumbed to the abuse. So I was restricting. I cut out all carbs, because everyone thinks carbs are the devil.
Right.
Like from the water boy, they're the devil.
Yes.
So I was stuck in the like carbs are evil trap in order to stay skinny. And so what happened, and I didn't notice this at the time, is I craved sugar, like chocolate. And so I always kept bags of chocolate chips on hand, like in my cupboard. I always had my stockpile, right? And so I'd sit and I'd eat some chicken and broccoli. And then it was like almost as soon as I was full from that, I was craving my chocolate, and I would run over to the cupboard and grab a handful and just munch on my chocolate chips, and it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And and then my hypothyroidism progressed into Hashimoto's.
Okay.
I got sicker and sicker and sicker, and I never ever once connected the fact that I was starving myself of proper nutrition and creating nutritional deficiencies and getting sicker, right? And so by the time I was taken out on disability and so sick I couldn't work, my panic attacks were just like crippling. I still didn't know what the hell to eat. You know, I got a little bit better. I had a functional medicine doctor tell me that I wasn't absorbing. And so this is another factor that's coming into the eating disorders as well. When we eat disorderly and we starve ourselves of nutrients, this affects our stomach acids and our ability to digest our foods. It decreases our stomach acids because we need nutrients and minerals in order to maintain our stomach acids. And we need our stomach acids in order to digest our food and then break down our food and then absorb our food so we can use the vitamins and minerals. And so I didn't understand why I was so sick. But now looking back, it makes sense. And so some of the ways that I changed my diet for the better and the way I sustain my diet now is I eat a lot of carbs, but I eat purple sweet potatoes, and I eat regular sweet potatoes, and I eat lots of other potatoes like russet and golden and red, and those are the basis of my carbs. What about you? How do you subscribe to a particular way of eating nowadays, or how do you maintain your diet?
It's really interesting that you brought up the thing about stomach acid and things like that. I have long suspected that I have digestive and GI issues. I finally did a GI map test about a month and a half ago, maybe. And I just actually today started my gut healing protocol. So as it turns out...
Wait. You did a GI map test. That is my favorite test in the world. Who did you pull that test with?
My doctor. I go to like an integrative primary care physician. So I did it through them, and then she reviewed the labs for me and put together kind of a 3-month protocol for me.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I think like I do, think that there is a connection to my past eating patterns and how that just kind of made the conditions for what is in my gut, like I do think
exactly.
I really think that had something to do with it. So anyway, so I am starting this protocol, which does ask me to do no gluten, which I have actually not been eating gluten for the last couple of years anyway, because I also have some skin issues. I deal with eczema. So I cut gluten out of my diet, a couple of years ago, which, it's funny because there are people who will be like, is that hard? Like, what do you eat? And I'm like, actually, it's really the easiest thing ever. Like, you just like, it's really not hard at all, especially now, where there's so much gluten-free everything.
Yeah.
So I don't do gluten. I've been limiting my dairy for a while, but with this 3-month protocol, I've been asked to eliminate dairy altogether, which also is not that difficult for me. I do miss like some good cheese, but I also will just take like, the nut-based cheeses and kind of like sprinkle them on my meals. I've been, almond milk, oat milk. I love those. So that's not hard either. The place where I tend to have more of a need to draw the line for myself and kind of just like, be intentional about making mindful decisions is like with sweets and sugar, because I have a sweet tooth. And so, a few squares of dark chocolate could easily turn into like 6 squares of dark chocolate. So I kind of need to like make sure that I am being aware and being intentional about, being present with that stuff. Otherwise, I know that it could be kind of like a slippery slope. But yeah, I mean, I'm not vegetarian. I, you know, kind of ascribe to the idea that like I prioritize my protein, prioritize my vegetables. And I know that because I love carbs, I will get my carbs in. I know I will get my healthy fats in because I cook with them. I use them as condiments. So it's kind of the approach that I take, is just like, what's my protein, what's my vegetable, and then my carbs and my fats are kind of my afterthoughts.
I love that. Well, that sounds like a great protocol. Yeah, so stomach health, from everything that I've learned on my own journey back to my own health, is our health truly begins in our stomach. I know it is the complete opposite of what everyone else talks about, but from what I've learned is I look at our stomach health, our stomach blends. And so when I say stomach, I mean not only like our actual stomach blends, but our bile. So our liver produces bile and it gets stored in our gallbladder, and our bile and our stomach blends together is what helps us break down the ciblet and use our food and the nutrients in our food. And food nowadays, especially dairy and gluten, I mean, yeah, dairy and wheat products, they're not made the way they used to be made. They are processed. Everyone knows they're genetically modified. There's just so much pollutants, unfortunately, and modification to those two particular types of food that they just hurt us. And that's why the majority of us react to them. And so, you know, a lot of people are misinformed of like, or like make fun of everyone. Oh, everyone's going gluten-free, dairy-free. Right. It's like, it's not really our fault. You know, the manufacturers and the people that are making the decisions on these foods, they're kind of contaminated at this point, and that's why we react to them. So it is best to just cut them out. And like you said, there are so many companies nowadays. Like in my module, I have a list, like at least 20 names long, of like, here's your alternative bread, here's your alternative tortillas, here's your alternative milk, here's your alternative cheeses, you know, like, yes. There are so many amazing companies nowadays to accommodate a gluten-free, dairy-free lifestyle, which if you have a thyroid illness, you need to be eating gluten-free, dairy-free. And yeah, so just one thing I wanted to say is I eat nachos every now and then.
Oh, so, I do too. They're my favorite.
I know. Nachos. So I'll use like a really good grain-free, like the Siete chips. Those are amazing.
They are amazing.
And then, yeah, I'll use like a plant-based cheese. And I'm so satisfied. It's so amazing.
Right. I know. And it's funny because I used to like nachos, like I said, they've been my favorite for like a long time. And it was always like, you know, like back in the day, it was always like, ooh, like I'm going to get nachos and it'd be like this enormous pile and I feel so stuffed and gross afterwards. But like now I can make them and feel really good about them, both because I'm like, I'm not feeling stuffed and gross afterwards. And it was a really yummy meal. So it's nice to be able to like take those meals that used to kind of make me feel like I was off the rails and make them in a way that I feel like I'm doing something really good for myself, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you can just have a moderate portion and it's so tasty and it's gluten-free, dairy-free.
Right.
And you don't have to feel neglected and you don't have to feel lack. Even with ice cream, I can eat ice cream nowadays. I mean, there are so many alternatives. And so when I'm working with my clients, I say, well, I just don't know what to eat. And I'm like, let me show you. There's so much out there. You know?
And like you need some like good condiments that you can rely on. You know, like for me, that's like obviously salt and pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, Trader Joe's, everything but the bagel seasoning, and like some chili powder, and you know, like so like some good seasonings that you can always kind of are like your go-tos, and then like, you know, some good butter or ghee or something like that will also add some flavor. And like, and I feel like once you have those things, you can figure it out and you can make some really good meals with having those condiments.
Absolutely. And some fresh herbs and seasoning, like basil is always a really great seasoning, and rosemary and thyme. And my favorite seasoning for a lot of things, to be able to avoid like the crummy ketchups, the crummy ranches, is salsa.
Yes.
Mango salsa from Costco is like, whoa. Yeah. And hummus, I always look for clean hummuses that are made with tahini and not canola oil. And I avoid anything that has natural flavors or citric acid because that's just MSG and more like just bad ingredients that hurt our GI tract. But yeah, so I love using hot sauce, salsa, hummus, and some of the Primal Kitchens. I avoid eggs.
Okay.
So some of the Primal Kitchen brand condiments, like the barbecue sauce and the unsweetened ketchup, are definitely staples for me too. But yeah, I just really want to encourage anyone that feels like they're struggling with their diet, struggling with um, not necessarily binge eating, but just like an eating disorder in general, um, to reach out to us. We would love to help you. Obviously, we both have experience with this. You way more than me. That's why I'm just so impressed with your story and your turnaround. And I love that you help women who are in that situation as well, and can guide them out of that. And so tell us a little bit about your program.
Yeah. So my coaching really does support women out of the kind of all or nothing restrictive mindset, that also is this kind of like I said, these extremes of restriction versus binging, and really works with people to find this middle ground and this like moderate approach that again is like something that like once we do this work, we've done this work for the last time and you are good to go. Like my coaching is meant so that once we're done, you don't need me anymore, you know? And I think that that's kind of like where you and I, Sarah, are similar, where it's like we are looking to really empower our clients to take back their health, to take back their life. Because, you know, I know that for me, when I was really stuck in this, like, and you touched on this earlier, it's not just the stress on your body on a physiological level, but it's like that mental stress. It's not only exhausting, but it also takes up a lot of time that you could be using thinking about other things that are way more important than like how you're going to not eat tomorrow, you know, like, so there's just like, it just opens up so many more doors once you can really kind of get to a place where this feels good and you feel so confident in the choices that you're making about food that you don't have to have that, like, that complete, like, I think of it as like, what are those things that you look at to read? Teleprompter. It's like a teleprompter in
Oh
your
yeah.
head, just like going and going and going. Like, was this the right decision? Did I eat too much? Did I eat too little? What should I eat next? Like, it's just like, it's too much. And you just like, let all that go. You live your life and like, you're good. It's just like, you're good. You know, there's none of that stress anymore. And I think that like in that same fashion, that's sort of like what you're helping your clients do, you know, to kind of get rid of that all those symptoms that are
Yeah,
just bringing them down and let them live a more like free life, you know, where they feel
exactly.
healthy. So yeah, it's similar, but just with different, you know, different approaches.
Yeah, and I love that you use the word empowerment because I really feel like there was an energetic shift that happened for me, especially coming into 2021, and the girls I talk to all the time, you know, it's like I am so ready to empower women. We are still so victimized by the medical system. The thyroid community is hushed. They are pushed down. They are gaslighted. They are told they're fine when they're not. They're told they're crazy when they're not. And I went through it so many times. And I have come out the other side. And I am ready to teach women how to stand up for themselves, empower themselves in their doctor's appointments, empower themselves in their diets, and empower themselves in their supplement regimens, spiritually, emotionally, and like you said, and just change the lifestyle, change the thinking, change the mental rhetoric, you know, the physical changes that you need in order to feel better, and really teach them a new lifestyle of empowerment on how to take care of themselves properly And then for my girls, how to not allow these abuses that happen to them from their doctors. And just really, yeah, like teach them to take their lives and their health back in control. And because, like, you know, you've felt out of control. I've been victimized. I have felt out of control. I have felt completely lost. And so that's why we became coaches, you know, because we went through this horrible stuff and we don't want to see anyone else suffer.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And so,
yeah, I think coming out on the other side just makes you realize how much better it can be. And you're just like, I need to let other people know this. I need to help other people get here. Like it's possible. Because I think when you're in that darkness and you're in the thick of it, you don't think that there is another side, like, you know, that there is a whole other side to this. And there is, you know, but it's like when you're so stuck in it, you just are like, this is just how it is. This is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, you know, and you don't really see that there's like a bridge and there's something on the other side of that bridge. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 110%. I will never forget laying in bed, totally sicker than a dog, didn't know. I was just done. Yeah. I couldn't see anything. And all I dreamed of was someone that I could talk to who just could relate and could, like, maybe give me some advice or some guidance, you know, and so that's, you know, that's the beautiful thing about being a coach is in our programs, they have, you know, direct messaging outside of our coaching programs. So you have that support, you have that guidance, and you have someone to be like, what do I do about this? I'm freaking out, you know, and you're like, okay, calm down. I got your back, you know, and it's not only amazing for them, but it's amazing for us too. So where can everyone connect with you at?
Yeah, and I was just gonna real quick. I was just saying, I've started telling my clients this, like, there is nothing that you can tell me that I'm gonna be like, oh my God, she did what? You know, because chances are I've been there, I've experienced it, I've done it myself. Like, there's nothing you can tell me that's gonna shock me. Like, so don't worry about it.
I love that.
So you can find me here on Instagram. It's probably the best place to find me. I tend to be mostly here. I just started a YouTube channel, so I've got, you know, probably like 10 subscribers right now, but here on Instagram is probably the best place.
Yeah, you're always here. You post daily, and I always read your posts. I love them. So yeah, congrats on the YouTube channel. I have one too, and I think I have maybe 16 subscribers. So.
Well, you know what? I'll go subscribe to yours. You subscribe to mine.
Sounds good. Yeah, but you know, it's just I love making YouTube videos. We've done another collaboration about clean beauty. It was awesome. So if you guys want to watch our other collaboration, I have it on my YouTube channel. I don't know if you have it on yours.
I haven't added it, so that's what actually I need to do that. Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday. So I'm going to add it to my YouTube channel as well. I'm actually doing a 5-part series as well. I started the first 2, so yesterday was the second one. I'm talking actually all about how the language that we use around food is what is keeping us stuck in that cyclical pattern of deprive and binge. So I talked on the first one just kind of about, you know, basic things like good and bad, healthy and unhealthy, and how that creates a lot of extremes in our thinking. And then yesterday's was all kind of about the moralization of food and how we use words like tempting and guilt and things like that. So I'm kind of diving into that stuff. I've got 3 more weeks to kind of explore that. As also a former English teacher, looking at language is really interesting to me. So if anyone wants to hop over and check those out, that'd be really cool too.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
that sounds really cool. If you want to post on those, I'll share over to my story for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And obviously you guys can connect with me here. My website is coachsharejoy.com. And I have a 90-day program called Energy for Life, which I particularly named Energy for Life because when you're sick with a thyroid illness, you don't have energy. And if you don't have energy, you can't take care of anything else in your life, let alone yourself. So that's why the basis of my program is to help you regain your energy, take control of your diet, your supplement regimen, your nutrient deficiencies, your pathogen infections, and then also we go into your stuck story, your past traumas, your spiritual wellness, anxiety, depression, all of the mental aspects that come along with thyroid illness, because it is so, you know, my girls really get stuck in there's so much coming at us, and it's really sad. There will literally be family members that will say mean and negative comments about you because you're still in bed, or you still have your pajamas on.
Right.
You haven't really done anything much today. What's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? And that negativity goes in, and then you internalize that and you adopt that, and that becomes your identity. And next thing you know, it's just, that's a spiral as well that I help teach how to get out of. So, there's so much to us. We are such magnificent, amazing, deep creatures. But if we can get out of it, you guys, you can too.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, it was so awesome talking with you. I totally admire you. I think you're amazing.
Thank you. And I am always in awe of like the knowledge bombs that you drop on Instagram. I'm always like, my gosh, she is so smart. She knows so much about thyroid health. So like, I'm always just in awe of your content.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, sweetheart. Well, we will do this again soon.
Yes, we absolutely will. All right. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.